Welcome to the Big O Money Show. Bill Altman here. Co-host Tony Shore is with me as always, or as per usual. You had Andrew Galvin on last week. I thought Andrew did a great job. I was unable to be on, but he's always doing good, doing great. Bill Kaiser, we haven't seen him in a little bit, but he was super busy this last Medicare season and really getting into the year with more continued Medicare and really ramping up on the side of self-insuring for the whole long-term care piece. And, what does that mean? We can talk a little bit about that today. But yeah, things are keeping busy around here. Julie in tax time, she says, she's busy. It's great. Tatum's doing fantastic. Tatum works with Julie. So that's definitely growing. I really feel people want that personal interaction. It's so easy to do our taxes online, right? We can do that.
Oh, yeah.
The TurboTax or all the different free services, but there's still something about that brick and mortar. It's something about coming in to talk to somebody, especially when your taxes start to get a little bit more complex, or you have businesses or multiple businesses, or there's different things going on that you really want somebody with a number of years of professional service to help you. That's so important. And I feel that for our financial planning clients, same deal. People really like that one-on-one. They want to be able to call and talk to somebody or run something by. We are working with a gentleman that had a top-heavy 401k. He's a high earner at the company he works at, and you can only contribute so much. So you can't make the plan top-heavy. You can't be a top earner or a high earner is what they call them, and over contribute to a plan percentage-wise against the other employees within that plan. And so even though you might be able to contribute, say, $30,000 a year, okay, you can't because you're contributing too much. You're going over from what the other employees on a percentage basis. And so what they end up doing is sending a check back. So, how do you navigate your way around that? We have a dear client who is on hospice right now, and more than likely will be passing very shortly. Had a great life, but once again, is everything in order? Was it all in order? Were the powers of attorney there, the will, the trust, whatever this gentleman needed to successfully pass his estate after he's gone, right, without probate or the least amount of probate possible, but also during his lifetime while he was sick and while he was in the nursing home, did he have the documents set up, like your powers of attorney and your living will, to make sure the people that he has appointed can best help him with the least amount of court involvement, the least amount of attorney involvement? Attorneys do a great job. They're there to serve a wonderful purpose. Part of that purpose is educating people to have these documents in place. So if something were to happen, they're taken care of. And the if is not really an if, it's probably a when in most cases, right? And so, and the problem with the when is we don't know when the when is going to be here. So we have to get that taken care of, that planned. So seeing a lot of things this week and kind of seeing everything that we do as a company kind of come into fruition, whether it be on that tax side or that Medicare side or the long-term care self-insuring side. And like I said, we'll talk. And self-insuring can mean a couple different things. I mean, you can really self-insure, just be a high net worth individual, and you have plenty of money to pay for a long-term care facility for as long as you need. That might be a portion of self-insurance. For the majority of people, that's not the case. They don't have a pile of gold sitting there in their closet.
Yeah, because it's like my mom, it's $11,000 a month.
I mean, it's chunky.
You'd have to be very wealthy to afford that. And some people are. Maybe you can self-insure, but for most people, that is not a real reality. Right.
Yeah. And so, how do we self-insure? How do we create a plan to have insurance, right? But not use it or lose it. Have a plan where the funds that you put into this plan, if you drop dead with a heart attack and never go into a long-term care facility, all those premiums are wasted, right, on traditional long-term care plans unless it was a return of premium policy. We don't see a lot of that. But what if you had a plan that it was a life insurance policy? You pay premiums into this life insurance policy. If you keel over, pass away, never go to the nursing home, the death benefit goes to your beneficiaries. It was never a use it or lose it type of plan. So in a way, you self-insured for this plan because the money was never going to go anywhere but your family. If you needed care, if you could not satisfy 2 out of 6 activities of daily living and you needed that assistance for those, then you could actually accelerate a good portion and typically almost all, like 96% of the death benefit, you can accelerate for your own needs inside that long-term care facility or home health care. And it's a cash pay. So regardless of what you need, doesn't really matter. It's not like, oh, well, you have all this money, so we're only going to give you this much. It's not about that. If you had $1 million policy, you could accelerate whatever they're going to allow you. But if it was 96%, right, you're going to accelerate $960,000 for long-term care use. And it just kind of depends. Every company is different. Like one company, maybe it's like John Hancock, and I don't know if exactly it's John Hancock that does this, but I'm pretty sure like 2% per month you can use out of your plan, right? So 24% a year, you go 4 years, you're at 96%.
Yeah.
Yep. So those type of things are important to realize and at least have an idea of how they can be used. How can this alternative type of plan be used? How can I self-insure for something? And if I never need it, my family gets the money. If I need it, I had it. What a great option. And maybe threefold, where again, if I don't need it or whatever portion is left after the long-term care goes to the family tax-free, can pay some of those IRA transfer, those inherited IRAs that we call a tax bomb.
Yeah.
What happens when you have an IRA or 401k that you've been contributing to? You're retired, you pass away, it's never been taxed. What do you think happens? Well, gets taxed.
Yeah.
The IRS.
You're leaving a tax burden to your loved ones. Do you want to do that? There are ways to avoid that. If you work with someone like yourself, there at the Premier Advisory Group, that's what you do. And you're talking about taxes and long-term care, and it's interesting how they do tie right into estate planning and what you're going to be able to leave your loved ones and how you leave it to them, right?
Absolutely, 100%. All of it plays a crucial role. You have to really button up everything. And, so you might have heard like Jim Rose on the radio talking about us. And one thing we've kind of started is we want people to understand they can just call Bill. And when I say Bill, I'm saying Premier, right? Because we are the family of companies here where everybody really works together in our office for everybody. They work for us. They work for you. If I'm not around, one of the other guys is around. If they're not around, all of us are around. Everybody's around to help all the time. So you just call Bill when something happens. When something happens, do you call your attorney? No, you just call Bill. When something happens, do you call your CPA? No, you just call Bill. And then we can button everything up. And I'm not a CPA, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give you advice on all that. But I know the 10,000-foot view of your plan. I understand what's going on. I understand that you have your powers of attorney, your will, and your trust. And the lawyer has put everything in it, and they've retitled the house, and all that kind of stuff has changed. It's complete. It's all good. I know that we don't have to call a different attorney to start a discovery process and have the tabs start ringing up, have the bills start running, right? Or the CPA. And like I said, they're all crucial. I have wonderful relationships with CPAs and attorneys, but again, we want to use, for lack of better words here, Tony, we want to use that as a tool, right? It's
right. And you have those resources there. That's the huge thing. And that's why you said just call Bill. And I think when they make a movie about your life, it's going to be called Call Bill.
Hey, just call Bill, like call Saul.
Call Bill. Or kill Bill, but call Bill.
Don't kill Bill.
No, don't kill Bill. Call Bill.
Because Rosie needs me.
That's true. Rosie needs you.
I was going to actually bring her in for the show today, but
That would have been great.
yeah, I have other things I have to do after. It wouldn't be fair to her. So
Oh, she'd
around.
sit in your lap, just calm as a cucumber the
Yep.
entire time, like she did the other day. I couldn't believe she was on an whole show, and she just sat there in your arms the entire time. Rosie's our mascot, by the way, for those who
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, Rosie. That's right. So lots of stuff going on in markets too, right? We have wars going on and missiles and oil prices that are shooting up like crazy. I mean, wildly, right? Have you gone to the gas tank or a gas pump lately? Holy smokes, right? Not probably you, but
Yeah, I don't, but
or something.
I don't, but my wife drives a big GMC, as do you, and to fill up that tank, it takes quite a bit.
Yeah, I think they were running about $4.50 for diesel this past week here.
Oh, the diesel. Yeah, hers isn't diesel, luckily, but diesel's up to over $5 in places. So
that's crazy. Yeah,
for the first time ever, it's the highest in history right now.
Yeah, and so we're going to see that pass down. And have you watched Landman at all?
Oh yeah, I love that show. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's a fantastic show, and it's a oil and gas business type of show, and so this guy, he's a landman, but he talks about the price of oil, and you don't want the price of oil to be, the oil companies don't want the price of oil to be too much.
Right.
Because what happens is people stop buying their oil. They stop traveling. Summer slowdowns.
Yep.
They're not doing the car. The planes aren't as full anymore. And so that's not good for the oil business.
Yeah, we need to get Billy Bob Thornton, who stars in Landman, on the show to talk about this. That's what we need to do. I'll work on that.
Yeah, good. I'll give him a ring too. He's busy.
I'll call his management company and we'll tell him.
You got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So Tony's going to have him on the show next week. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
Well, give me a couple weeks.
Oh, okay, a couple. Okay, cool.
Yeah, give me a couple weeks, but hey, might as well try.
We're seeing inventories of oil actually go up, which is great. That's not talked about on the news, by the way. Okay, so you have to read the small articles buried within the journal, and it's like, oh, by the way, the media has been lying to you. There is excess oil inventory. It's kind of interesting, right? When you think that and read it. So be really careful about what you hear, and of course what you read. I still take that with a grain of salt.
Sure.
We do know that, if we can't get those ships through the strait, right, and there's going to be bombings over there, or they're going to hijack ships, that prices will go up. We need that. That's 20% of our oil usage. We need that. Yeah. That's very important.
20% of the world's oil supply goes through the Strait of Hormuz, they say.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy, right? And so we need to be able to protect that and protect that transportation. Yeah. But have we seen this story before? Have we seen this unfold? Everybody's, but it's not the same. It's crazier than ever. I had a client in this last week, and she's like, it's been a client for like 20 years. Bill, it's just not the same. And no, it's never going to be the same. But man, neither was COVID, and everything the world was coming to an end then.
The Iraq War, COVID, 9/11. We've been through these. We've been through these black swan events before and come out the other side. I think we're resilient. Hopefully we will. I'm not making excuses or saying it isn't a bad thing what's happening, because lives are being lost. I think it's a horrible thing, but you can't give up and you can't panic, right?
Oh, and that's why it's so important to have a plan. I was talking to Andrew earlier this week. I was out of town for a day, and I said, how are things going? Are we getting a bunch of calls in the office? What's happening? And the answer was no. Phones are pretty quiet, Bill. People are panicking, because we do set them up for this. We make them or help them try to understand and manage the expectation that the markets will come backwards, right? But, we've kind of talked about this before. This is clipped from the Omaha World Herald back on January 26th of 2017. The Dow Jones is 1,000 point milestones. Dow Jones was first published in 1896, May 26th of 1896. And the lowest point on record for the Dow was $28.48 on August 8th, 1896. That was the lowest point. What did we, I think, did we topple 50,000 this year?
We hit 50,000.
You know, November 1972, the Dow was at 1,000. 1987, 2,000. 91, 3. 95, 4,000. Go to 2013, we're at 16,000. Go to 2017, we're at 20,000. 2017. So we go just 10 years later, not even 10 years, 9 years later, and we toppled 50,000.
Yeah, you went from 17,000 to 50,000 in 10 years.
Yeah, and from 1972 to now, we went from 1,000 to 50,000.
That's unbelievable.
50x on it, right?
Yeah.
So once again, we want to make sure that you're not panicking, but you're also understanding that yes, it is very real. And if you're only 45 years old and you have 20 years to work, it's a different type of reality.
Yeah.
Right. We can really push our chips further in. Right.
Yep.
But when you're 65 years old and you're wanting to retire, the reality is different. And
Right.
as a really good client of mine said, you know, Bill, and he got back from Puerto Vallarta a day before the cartels basically took over the city.
Wow.
Okay. So he got back the day before, had no clue what was going to happen. Obviously, he was just scheduled to come back.
Wow.
He comes back and
Fortunate.
the whole city's blowing up and on fire. You know, and he comes back and he's been a businessman and he's been involved with multiple things. He's been successful, but he's pushed his chips in. I mean, you're not going to be successful and be that business owner and take that risk without sometimes going all in. And he has. But he says, you know what, Bill? I'm good. That's what he said. He sat in front of me at my desk. I'm good. You know, I don't need to take the risk anymore. If we can find something that's paying 4 or 5% and without the risk, I'm good. You know, I don't need a bigger engine on it. I could take it. I could handle the bigger engine. I could handle the volatility and the risk. But I think his point was, I've been there, done that. And this last week just really showed me that. You know, I was in Puerto Vallarta and left the day before the city was burning down, right? Due to cartel activity. And he's like, you know what? I got to thinking, do I have enough? Well, I'm going to go talk to Bill. We ran numbers. We looked and everything looks good. I mean, heck, you're going to pass away with more money than you ever thought. Even if you spend a whole boatload throughout your retirement, you're doing pretty good. Right. And he's like, perfect. Let's just let's slow her down a little bit. Let's put a hybrid under that baby or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little less gas usage there.
Yeah.
Again, might not go as fast. Might not be rolling coal like the old diesel, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
you know, but you get it.
Sense.
And sometimes it gets to that point. And so what do we do? How do we stay involved with markets at the same time as shutting down or slowing down our risk, lessening our risk, right? Lowering that standard deviation. How do we do that? Well, one way are the buffered index, the structured notes, right? So if Goldman Sachs, you know, has an S&P linked buffered note, right, or a buffered index portfolio, and it goes for 18 months, they might say over the next 18 months, we're going to allow you to make 12%.
Sure.
Okay, and without any risk. So if the S&P is negative, you're good. You walk away with all your money. If the S&P is positive, anywhere up to that 12%, then you get it. I'm pulling 12% out of my, we're right around there. We're in that 10 to 13 range, probably right in that neighborhood. Because these reissue, we get these new structured notes about every 3 weeks. And so there'll be an execution date. So we'll have to have it funded by a certain day. And then it will execute that day after or a couple of days after that. So we get all the money in place, we execute, they buy into it, and then a new set of these structured notes comes out. And so it might be a little different, but that's okay. Barclays might say, hey, I have 24 months and we'll do this and that and the other. But it's a way to stay involved with markets. It's a way to stay invested in markets and significantly reduce your risk. And so that's what we want to, take a look at. And again, managing the expectation. Market volatility is never going to change. We've always had it, but we've also always had, if you draw a line on the chart, we're going to see the peaks and valleys, but the line tends to continue to go up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and again, that's the long-term picture. And so some people, and I fully agree with this, my dad's favorite line, really, he said, he goes, Billy, your time horizon's here. You'd hold up his arms and stretch out his hands, like a ruler almost. And he'd say,
Yeah.
your timeline is here. He goes, but Billy, my timeline is here.
Right.
I don't have the time to recover. Our clients, our market, our people, that pretty much retirees who we work with are pre-retirees. Their timeline every single year that they get closer to retirement is a shorter and shorter timeline, right? And so do we shut risk off because you can't handle it emotionally, mentally? That's a reason. You could have all the money in the world and just not like the risk.
Yeah.
Or do we shut it off because we really have to preserve assets? We only have so much to live on, and you have this $500,000 that you've saved, and we need to make it last for the next 20, 30, 40 years, whatever the case is.
Yeah. And the trick is how you do that. And
right.
You have to have a plan, and you have to start making adjustments as your time horizon gets shorter and shorter, right?
That's right. And so, because we can't control what the Fed does.
Yeah.
President Trump can't control what the Fed does, I don't think, right? At least not supposed to. There shouldn't be political involvement, they say in that. Whether it happens or no, I don't know. I have my own conspiracy theories upon that. But at the end of the day, we don't know. Us people sitting here, right, in our office, we can't control what Jerome Powell does with or the committee. The committee this past week, he kept interest rates the same because we see inflation heating up a little bit. So if they dropped interest rates, inflation would heat up even more. And they're like, oh, okay, let's slow down the car. Now, why is inflation heating up? Well, because we have oil that's shooting through $115 a barrel plus.
The oil issue, yeah.
And so again, why is food and energy not included in core inflation? Because of the extreme volatility. I mean, heck, during COVID, you could drive down to the Gulf Coast and they'd give you a barrel of oil and $40.
Yeah, they're paying you to take it at almost. Yeah, at that point, yeah.
And now you get a barrel of oil if you give them $115.
Yep, exactly.
So that, things change, and they change so rapidly. So people are going to be like, oh, that doesn't include, the price of gas. The price of gas was $2 recently.
Yeah.
And so now it's $4. That's a lot of volatility. So guess what? When that whole conflict kind of irons itself out, what do you think is going to happen? Oil prices are going to go back down, and the prices at the pump will be about the same as they were before.
Yep. But oil is used to make everything and ship everything. So it's tough. When oil goes up, it does affect the price of everything, not just energy prices or oil prices.
Yes.
Plastic is a petroleum-based product. How many things use plastic? Everything.
How about the shipping, the trucks to get it here?
Transportation.
Everything that goes into it, so much. And so you're exactly right. Carpet. A lot of carpet is petroleum based.
Yep.
We can trickle this down to anything that you want to really call.
Yeah.
And again, if it doesn't have any petroleum in it at all that's used, zero, it has to still get to you.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be shipped.
Yeah.
Jet fuel, truck fuel, ships, you name it. Yeah.
Right.
Well, hey, we're almost out of time, Bill. So before we go, our listeners, if they have questions or they want to set up a consultation, get an estate plan in place, get their taxes looked at, get their overall financial picture looked at, maybe don't panic, see where they're at, and if their risk allocation is correct, how can they do that? How can they set that up?
Sure. You just call Bill.
Call Bill.
402-557-6730. I almost gave out my cell. That would be dangerous. 402-557-6730, or go to bigomoney.com.
All right. And remember, call Bill.
Ooh.